Hey everyone.
Hello.
It is July 13th, I believe, Monday.
Yeah.
And we are at a mooring in Port Jefferson, Long Island. And I thought it was an uneventful day, no sailing in terms of that type of thing. But I thought we should update just some of the realities of cruising and let Dad tell you what he knows about Long Island Sound, because I haven't been here.
No, I've been here with Pat a number of times, and we've actually anchored in this bay. It's a really protected bay. Actually, we were here last year, or a couple years ago, for 4th of July. You know, it was a really terrific place to watch the fireworks. So some of the realities are, I mean, today was an absolute flat water day until we started entering the harbor, and then we got pretty good wind. It was very, very refreshing because it's really hot out here. But the last thing you really want when you're going to anchor or pick up a mooring is a lot of wind, because you got to be able to get the boat to a certain position, hold a position, get the anchor down, or pick up the mooring, whatever. One of the surprises we had on this today was that normally you can there's a large mooring field there where they're for long-term mooring rentals and sometimes transient rentals, and then north of that, just outside of that, there's you can anchor, or at least you always could anchor. Chris was reviewing some of the cruising guide comments and found that someone had anchored where outside of the mooring field and what had been a perfectly legitimate place to anchor, and found out that he was in the wrong place and got rousted out and had to pick up his anchor and go someplace else. So we called the harbor master and found out that indeed that was the case, that we're not sure exactly why they don't allow people to moor there. There are some large commercial moorings out there, and I'm thinking that maybe the ferry or some of the other commercial craft may moor there, and maybe just isn't enough room. But for whatever reason, we had to make a last-minute change, and we contacted a mooring service, and were able to bring the boat in. And I have to say, we masterfully picked up the mooring line, and with no trouble, first time. I just hope people were watching. You know what I mean? I mean, the only time they really watch is when you this is our third time to get up the mooring.
Right.
We drop the pick up
should have filmed it, but then, when there's two people on a boat, it's hard to set that up.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting thing, because obviously we have this waterway guide from 2017 that has the whole area we're going to be exploring, and a lot of it is probably perfectly up to date in terms of, because a lot of that doesn't change, but then some
the captain
things
was too cheap to buy a current issue, so.
Well, there's that, but you can go online and find stuff, but it doesn't mean even that information is not always up to date.
Correct.
But what it means is that the expectation we had due to prior experience and what we knew from the book is we could come in here, anchor, and then the launch service that services this mooring field, as in they'll send someone out, like a water taxi basically, to come get you, would work for the anchorages. But I don't think that's true anymore, because I did find someone online saying that they refused to pick them up.
Yeah.
So our expectation was we could come in, drop anchor, get to shore, explore Port Jefferson, but when you would get here, we decide that with very little option on either, we could leave and then do God knows what. So we're on a mooring for more money than we intended to spend, which is any money.
Yeah.
But I think it would be
and of course
nice.
we didn't realize that until we got the anchor down.
Exactly. So there's these unexpected things with travel. But on the other hand, we're very close to town now. I have not been here, but you have, Dad, and another friend of mine who grew up out here, or in this area at least, has recommended Port Jefferson. So I believe tomorrow we will explore that.
Yeah, it's a very nice North Shore town, and it's very, very convenient for cruisers, in that there's a grocery store within walking distance. It's a pharmacy. There's an ice cream shop, so they're all very close.
I mentioned the ice cream shop in my previous video that you didn't see. That you had promised me some ice cream, so I'm
I think
gonna
we'll have
hold you
a
to
choice
that.
of ice cream shops and any number of pubs, bar grills, and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
and the only other thing I have to report is that we saw a seal today.
I did.
I got a little bit of video. I don't know if it's very good, so I may splice it in here or not.
What kind of seal was it, Kristen?
I believe it was a gray seal.
A gray seal.
I looked up, basically there are four species of seal that are possible here, and that definitely fit the bill much better, but we couldn't see it super well. But it was very exciting to see regardless.
Yeah. I want to point out another thing that's happening to cruising sailors, and that is that a lot of towns discourage transient boaters, or people who not so much transient boaters, but there have been cases where people have brought in boats that are in disrepair, and they anchor, and then they just stay there on their boat, or they leave the boat there, and it's an eyesore. It's probably leaking stuff into the water. If the boat can't be moved, they have no way of getting rid of their waste. So I mean, it really is a problem. Not as an eyesore, but of course it's hazardous to the environment. So what has happened in a lot of places, and that might be the case here, they keep restricting the areas where free anchoring is available. So you have to pick up a mooring or you can't stay here. And so not everybody can afford the $60, $70, $80 a night to pick up a mooring. And so the intention is fulfilled by people then having to move on. St. Augustine, Florida is the prime example. We used to be able to go down there and anchor within a short dinghy ride into shore, but now there's no way. They just extended the mooring field, and it's taken up all of the anchorage space. So there's no way you can anchor there in any convenient location. So anyway, I think it's one of those dilemmas where I mean, you understand why there's a concern, and it's unfortunate that a few people have probably ruined it for the rest of us. But
yeah, and it's an interesting point too, because I think there's a lot of room between, somebody who owns a pleasure yacht because they're super rich and they have it and they leave it here for whatever reason, and someone who is in a derelict boat that is not respecting the rest of the community, and then people who save up enough money or retire to live on a boat and are in a way doing it as it is a cost-cutting measure. If you own a boat and you can go to these different places and it doesn't cost much for upkeep and all this other stuff. So there is there's a common perception that boating is a bougie upper class sort of hobby, when really there's this whole middle section where if you own a boat, you can live on relatively little if you can get these public anchorages and all this other stuff, and that's really disappearing, I think.
Yeah, and like a lot of, that's an excellent point. And it's like a lot of rules. It doesn't make exceptions.
Right.
I mean, I guess it would be possible for people, to get certified. I mean, make sure you have adequate, the boat actually runs, that it's seaworthy, that it meets, safety regulations, and isn't going to sink at anchor, and that you are responsibly disposing of your waste, things like that. And then that would be allowed. You'd be allowed to stay there. But my wife and I, we've been anchored one night, and then the next day, the Harbor Patrol or the Coast Guard comes up and says, not in a mean way. I mean, they're just saying, so how long have you been here? How long do you plan on stay? You can't stay more than whatever days. And I wouldn't call it harassment, although a friend of mine recently went down to Fort Worth or Lake Worth, and he said almost every day there was somebody that came by and basically hassled him about how long he was staying and making an issue out of it. So anyway, that's my gripe for the day.
No, and now we're belaboring it, but I've definitely signed up for, registered somewhere, and the list of rules includes not drying your clothes on the line. So you can't do, basically they're saying they don't want you living on a boat and doing laundry, right? Because it's unsightly. But what it means is that there's a lot of room in between somebody who is, not respecting their neighbors and the space they're in, and somebody who has some wet clothing. They're a bathing suit or something, they put it online. But so these rules really are meant to discourage people from using the space of the rich people who live here, I think.
That's right. And of course, the water is really not owned by the town.
Right.
It's the seawater, salt water is open to everybody. So,
Anyway,
Here we are.
that aside, it is a really beautiful place. I'm happy the breeze has picked up. It's going to be really hot the next couple days, so could be interesting to go in and see the town for a little bit.
Yep.
And we will check in there. All right.